I promised that Craig Button would be in studio, and I always deliver on my promises. How are you? How was your flight from Calgary?
It was good.
Yeah.
You know, you get on the flight early in the morning, and 4 hours later, you land in Toronto.
It's amazing how air travel works.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Connor Bedard can hop on a flight at the Regina International Airport and head right to Chicago, where he'll be playing for the Blackhawks this year. And you know the NHL, from their perspective, massive market. Apparently, the Blackhawks have sold a couple of $1 million worth of season ticket packages in the hours after the mock draft happened. It's a good day for Chicago.
Oh, it's a great day for Chicago. And, you know, when Kyle Davidson literally burned it to the ground in Chicago and said, we're going in a completely different direction, you know, it was with the idea that, hey, how can we get ourselves in position for Connor Bedard? Everybody knows that he's a generational player. Everybody knows how fantastic he is. But now it was about good luck, because it's got to fall the right way, and it fell the right way for the Chicago Blackhawks. You know, it's no surprise to me that they've sold that number of season tickets, because they know what great players can mean to an organization.
Sure.
They're just coming off of two great players, in Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane. So it's not going to be immediate for the Chicago Blackhawks in terms of contending for the Stanley Cup. But like Mario Lemieux, like Eric Lindros, like Sidney Crosby, like Connor McDavid, when you get those players, you know that you're going to be a Stanley Cup contender in time. And that's exactly where the Chicago Blackhawks can look to, knowing they have Connor Bedard.
And I guess the consolation, if you're Anaheim or Columbus and you didn't get that number one pick, is you're going to end up with a star player regardless. Who do you like for Anaheim at number 2, and who do you like for Columbus at number 3?
Adam Fantilli to the Anaheim Ducks, and Leo Carlsson to the Columbus Blue Jackets. And Adam Fantilli's a hard-driving, fast, aggressive, scoring centerman. And you watch him play and you understand that he plays the game in a frenzy-type fashion like Nathan MacKinnon. So think about Nathan MacKinnon, and Adam Fantilli has those qualities. You have Zegras, you have McTavish, you have Troy Terry. They have a lot of good young players, excellent blue line depth and prospects. Then you look at the Columbus Blue Jackets. They have Johnny Gaudreau and Patrick Laine. Mm-hmm. What do they need? A center.
Yeah.
They need somebody that can deliver. Leo Carlsson's that guy.
Perfect.
He is so good. He's Nick Backstrom-like with respect to his playmaking and his intelligence. So you got Gaudreau, you got Laine. The Columbus Blue Jackets have a lot of good young players. They don't have a number one center. I think Leo Carlsson fits the bill perfectly.
Boy, can you imagine Laine next year with someone like Carlsson setting him up? Gosh, that would be fantastic. And then the 4 Canadian teams stay put. Montreal sitting at 5, and it's a great spot. And Montreal GM Ken Hughes said after the lottery, Matvei Michkov is someone he would quote, certainly a special case. We'll do our homework. I think they've probably already done their homework on Matvei Michkov, because I think everyone has. Do you like the fit there at 5? We know the situation with him. You're not going to get him for a few years.
3 years, but that's okay. Yeah. You know, Victor Bobrov, who's their head scout, their director of player personnel, you don't think he's got connections in Russia? You don't think that he knows where to turn to get the information on Matvei Michkov? On the ice, bottom line is Matvei Michkov's a terrific player. And so you look at your team and you're trying to look, okay, I don't think there's any risk with drafting Matvei Michkov. I think it's about understanding. He's 3 years away from coming over because of his contract. How does he fit into your lineup? You have Cole Caulfield, Joshua Waugh, who's a terrific prospect. How many of those players that are what I would call diminutive do you want in your lineup? Because when you're at the draft, it's about building your team to have success in the regular season and playoffs. You can't have too many smaller players, because you're not going to have success when it matters the most. So that's kind of the calculation that Kent Hughes is going to have to go through.
So whether you feel like he's too small at this point,
exactly.
You want to go with a big body.
Yeah, well, Brian Murray said it best. If you have a team of good little players, you're just going to be a good little team. And good little teams don't win in the National Hockey League.
That's true.
And so that's part of the calculation. That's not to say Matvei Michkov isn't a terrific player and doesn't have lots of potential, but that's the reality of it. I had them taking Dalibor Dvorsky from Slovakia.
Yep.
That would be the second year in a row their first pick would come from Slovakia. Slavkovsky next year.
Yep.
And Dvorsky's a center, and you look at it and say he plays behind Suzuki. You need strength up the middle of the ice. You need skill. For Kent Hughes, he's got lots of options. That's a good place to be if you're Kent Hughes and the Montreal Canadiens.
And then Ottawa's pick officially going to Arizona to complete that Jake Chychrun deal. So let's focus on Vancouver at 11, Calgary at 16. Who do you think these two Western teams should have their eyes on?
Well, I looked at a defenseman for the Vancouver Canucks. If you if they do not find a way to draft a defenseman that can play in your top pair, your top three, they're never going anywhere. And they don't have that. They have Quinn Hughes, and there's a huge drop-off. And you got to draft these guys when they're available. I think Axel Sandin Pellikka is that guy. I mean, is there other players that they might consider? Yeah, right shot defenseman that I think can play in the top three. He reminds me of Sergei Zubov. Sergei Zubov's in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
My gosh.
And,
That'd be a best case scenario, wouldn't it?
Well, that's what I see, right?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't mean that everybody sees it that way, but that ability to control the game, they need to get defensemen in there. And they're not, you can roll the dice on a fourth rounder. When they're staring at you right in the face in the top 11, top in the first round, you got to look there. Because if they don't, good luck finding them. And then for the Calgary Flames, I mean, they're going to have many options picking at 16. Nate Danielson, he's just from up the road there in Red Deer. More Red Deer fans or Edmonton Oilers fans or Calgary Flames fans?
It's hard to say because they're right in the middle, right?
So I'm asking you. You're
I've always wondered that too with Red Deer. Like, is there a spot in the city where there's like a line, and if you live on that side of the line, you're an Oiler fan, and if you live south of that, it's like 8 Mile. It's like Eminem.
I know there's lots of fans that have season tickets to the Oilers. I know there's lots of fans that have season tickets to the Flames.
Yeah.
But here you have Nate Danielson. He's sitting there right there from Red Deer, plays in Brandon. Really good, hard player. You'll hear scouts talk about hard skill. Nate Danielson has hard skill. He plays where it's difficult, and that's where the rewards come from. And he's a good goal scorer. He's a heavy player that really competes hard to score goals, and certainly a centerman that can play in your top two lines. Every team is looking to add and strengthen in that area.
You're going to be covering the draft for us in Nashville on Wednesday, June the 28th, and June the 29th as well. And your entire mock draft is available on tsn.ca, I understand. Did you know that?
Yeah, well, I heard that it was on tsn.ca. Kelvin Chow does great work at tsn.ca.
Yeah.
You know that that's up there. So they can tell me all I don't even have to think about it. I know it's there. So go there and tell me where I'm wrong.
Right.
And tell me how dumb I am making these picks. But no, the NHL teams, Jay, don't know who they're picking.
Exactly.
And you expect me to know?
Well, hey, I mean, you're just throwing it out there based on your knowledge and your experience in the game, and I love that. And Kelvin Chow is very good running tsn.ca. So good job, Kelvin.